Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Empower Your Soul. Today, I wanted to talk about divine timing. That's right. It is that mystical subject everyone hears about, no one loves, and everybody is so frustrated about this idea of divine timing. And maybe there's a little bit of misunderstanding about it. And these are the things that I want to talk about today. And I've been pondering this podcast episode for a while, just like I do all of my podcast episodes. And yesterday really, I think, cemented the fact that I need to get this recorded and get this out in the ethers because there is a lot going on economically right now. And I'm using the word economically because I think that is the true statement of the word. Because if you're like me, and you're like everybody else that's living in America right now, times are a giant question mark. And I know I don't want to get into the different vibration of things, but the reality is that, the word recession's been thrown around, all these different things have been thrown around, and vibration is generally not great with a lot of people getting potentially like laid off and all these horrible things that are happening. So when I'm talking about divine timing, it is interesting because as I'm going to let me circle back to that in a minute. When I was developing as a medium and I would get spiritual assessments, and I just had a spiritual assessment yesterday for a client as well, we as the people who are meant to be these lighthouses for people, the people that are meant to do the work, to heal the earth, to raise the vibration, the light workers that we are often told or we're shown little tidbits of the future. We're told maybe in spiritual assessments that we're amazing, you're going to change the world, you're going to invent new modalities, right? Your impact is going to be huge. We might get visions or premonitions of things that are going to happen down the line for us. We might get visions of, I was told from a very long time ago that I would be teaching, that I would be writing a book, that I would do all these things. And like, that's really cool. And so it's so interesting because Spirit likes to give us these little nuggets of our path and kind of what to expect. But it's almost like they're teasers. They're like the trailers for the movie because they're going to give you the little bits of gold that are going to keep you interested, that are going to keep you motivated, that are going to keep you going on your path through those frustrating moments. And as I say that, I have this lily behind me. It's a peace lily. And my guide, when I found out who my mediumship guide was, she showed me a picture of this lily in my head. So I went out to the local supermarket and I bought it, right? And so this peace lily has shown up continuously on my journey as this reminder that I'm doing the right thing and it's blooming at the right time. And I think there's a reason with this peace lily that I have to talk about it in this episode, because in the moments where I am really struggling and challenging myself and going through it, it's like those spiritual slaps that happen, right? It's those roundhouse kicks from spirit. And whenever that happens for me, this freaking peace lily flowers. It's only happened 3 times since I've owned this plant. But yet today, this month, it bloomed again. It was a hidden bloom. I loved it. So it's just this reminder that this is part of your journey. This is part of your journey. So let me get back on track here for a minute, because we're told all of these things about these things that are going to happen. But then what ends up happening is our masculine brains, which I'm going to talk about coming up in the somatic episode with Erin on Friday, our masculine brains take over and think that I need to do it and or it needs to happen now. And this is where I am really pulling this one apart, because it's so interesting, because I have a lot of clients, myself included, that come to me asking what their path is, how are they going to get there, where are they going to go? And then even in terms of my client yesterday, she has been told over and over again how powerful she is, how much potential she has, how she's going to change the world, but no inkling of how she's going to do it or how she's going to get there. And so it's so interesting. And isn't this the weird dichotomy of us working with spirit, that we want to see the whole picture? We want to know everything that's going to happen and the steps to get there, because our egos cannot take it. Our egos are so fragile and so broken. Sorry, I'm going to say it, that we need this feeling of control. So when I'm starting day 1 in mediumship class, I want to know, is this what I'm supposed to do professionally? Right? Am I supposed to be teaching? Am I supposed to be doing a book? I haven't even learned how to connect with spirit yet, and still I'm like, "Hey, am I going to do this full time? Can I leave my corporate job? I hate that job." Right? Literally, that was me in my first mediumship class. And so it's so interesting because we want to know transparency into the future and into the ups and downs, so we can have this sense of control and make this the easiest journey as possible, because who the heck doesn't want that, right? But at the same time, seeing that whole potential future either feels, number 1, overwhelming, or number 2, like you need to act on it now. And this is where the divine timing starts coming in. Because again, spirit wants us to be engaged and motivated and learning and continuing to enhance our abilities to live our best lives here. But we need to release control of that. We need to release control of what the outcome is going to be. We need to release control of the timing and what the steps are, so that we can live the best path, because the best path is not necessarily the easiest path. The best path is, I go through a freaking nightmare of a spiritual awakening, feel like I should be committed to an asylum, right? So that I know what that's like, so that when I have a client that comes to me going through that spiritual psychosis, I know how to deal with that. I know how to talk about it. I know how to have those conversations, right? It is, because what spirit doesn't tell you is the shit that's coming. Like, spirit doesn't tell you that you're going to have that reading as a medium where the client says no every single time. They don't tell you that, right? They don't show you that in your premonition. They don't show you how you're going to get up and you're going to have the horrible nights doing the demonstrations. But that's part of your learning too, right? And so when you think about the thing that I want you to walk away with is this idea that these nuggets of gold from spirit, the future premonitions, the comments from the people giving you readings, the spiritual assessments, these are all parts of the trailer of your life. These are the highlights, right? It doesn't mean that you're not going to go through it, and it doesn't mean that everything is going to happen right now, but it means that this is part of your overall story. And so when we're talking about divine timing, the key here, because you don't go to you don't see a trailer and want to know the whole, like, you want to learn more. You're intrigued. I want to get into it, but it doesn't imply doing like the movie or everything in that trailer is happening right now. And it doesn't imply that there's not bad, sad crying moments in that movie too, right? And so don't get caught up in the trailer of what spirit is maybe showing you. And I think this is why a lot of people maybe can't see the future or don't know what it is. And I know that is definitely true for me, because I knew, and I've said this before, that there was something coming for me that was big, but it was literally a black box. I don't know what it is. And I've said that, and you've heard me say it probably on this podcast. I don't know what this is, but I know it's big. It's huge. It's like the size of my house, and I don't know what this is. So I'm just going to go with it, and eventually spirit will lead me there and show me what I'm supposed to do. And that's the the trust in the divine timing that we all need for this work. So moving away from this example of trailers versus movies, right? I want to talk about an example of divine timing that is outside of the spiritual work. And this is an actual use case, as I like to say in my corporate job, use case for what divine timing looks like. And this is a divine timing moment that allowed my husband to realize the benefit of divine timing. Yeah, my husband, I want to call him the skeptic. He's not super skeptical. He's just real and practical and grounded, and he doesn't care. He's just like, let's be in the moment. And I love that. He grounds me. So when I am talking about this idea of divine timing in the story, and I'm going to try to not go totally into the weeds or down the rabbit hole, but I have a little lake camp. I'm going to say lake house because that's what I'm used to calling it, but it's a camp. It's a 600 square foot home. It is 7 minutes from this house that I'm sitting in now because my husband and I commuted for 20 years. And the last thing we want to do when we buy a lake house is travel 2.5 to 5 hours, depending on New England traffic, on the weekends to go to our camp house. Absolutely not. It is the next town over. Okay. Which is amazing because then everybody can come and hang out and stay, and we can have play dates. It's amazing. I 10 out of 10 recommend it. I'm oversaturated in property in the direct vicinity. That's okay. So we buy this lake camp, and it's the cutest freaking house that I've ever seen. But the septic was failed, right? So we had to do like a cash offer on the house, home equity line of credit, the jam. The septic was failed. It is down at the bottom of a cliff. The driveway only goes halfway down this cliff, and it's gravel and it's brutal, and I will not drive down it. It's treacherous. So it's essentially a third of an acre or quarter of an acre that goes at a very, very steep decline down to the house. When you get to the house, it's flat on the property, and the house is right next to the water. So the house itself is the dream. However, there is a lot of work that we need to do on this. We need accessibility through the driveway. We need a new septic. The water pulls from the lake. Yep, it's that old. Which lake water is very clean, but it pulls from the lake. And this house has not been touched. I mean, it was a bachelor pad. I think I've said this before. It was a bachelor pad. It had plywood subfloors. There was no trim. It was a man's fishing cabin, right? And so there's a lot of work that needed to be done in the house as well, including the roof. Okay. When we bought this house in the middle of COVID, we did not have the money to do all this stuff. But we were willing to figure it out. And slowly but surely, we started saving money to do these major freaking projects on this house. Okay. We were just about to pull the trigger on a new septic, called the local septic guy, got a surveyor out on the property, surveyed the property, and then the wreck next door gets sold. And when I say the wreck next door gets sold, it's a wreck. It is a tear down. Half of the roof is collapsing. This cabin was built in the 1930s. And it is way beyond repair. And so the house next door gets sold. They have a land survey done because now this guy that bought the property wants to replace the house and put in a VBRO. Fantastic. Come stay next to me, everybody. And so that was an invitation, Carly. Sorry, I had to. Carly's a projector. She waits for the invitation. There it was, Carly. And so I'm saying she. Let's see, this is what happens when I tell stories. I get so into the energy of what happened that I lose track of what I'm saying, and then you're lost in the hubbub of me trying to get back on track. I'm sorry. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee, and we're going to reground and get back on track. So that they have a survey done so that they can replace the house. Their survey disagrees with our survey. Not just a little. They think the top half of our property is actually the top half of their property. This is not a tiny little land lot argument. This is we wouldn't have access to our house land argument. So needless to say, all plans get put on hold because if we put in the new septic system, it would be on the neighbor's property line, if it's contested. So essentially everything comes to a screeching halt. My husband now has nightmares about the property line. He cannot sleep at night, right? We are all freaking out because we just saved all this money and we spent all of this money and we have a loan out. And it's just what this dream that we've had for 10 years comes crashing down because now we can't do anything on the house because now we're under litigation, right? So it takes 2 years for the surveyors to go back and forth arguing. and neither one of them will budge. And neither one of them will budge because of some other dynamics going on with other landlines on that same road where we're at. And because this is where intuition comes in, everybody. This happened before I got into this work, but I knew when, as soon as we got into this land battle, I said, we need to find the most crotchety, old school, old man land surveyor we can afford. And so we did, because I knew that old man, love him. He is so crotchety. He is so grumpy. And I'm like, he is going to be the one that the lawyer trusts. I knew that. Like, he's going to be the one that the judge trusts. I knew that from day one. So we found the old crotchety lawyer that surveyed the property way back in the early 90s. And we hired him to essentially go to land court with us. So he disagreed with the surveyor next to us, who was the younger guy. I promise I'm getting to a point. And so we ended up in court because the two would disagree. Needless to say, it was back and forth in court for about a year or so. I tried to settle, didn't work. So we end up in court. We won, which was really cool, not only because we won, but also because of the extensive research the lawyer went in. And so the extensive research the lawyer went and gave us the entire history of our property, which was so freaking cool. I loved it. Way back to like the 1920s, 1910s, which is cool. So over 100 years ago, loved that. So once that went through and we were like, finally, we ended up saving enough money to pay for the septic and a well, which was awesome. And not only that, but to put the well in, we would need to bring in tons and tons and tons of dirt to be able to put the well at the top of the property line, at the top of the hill. 3 doors down, they're tearing down a house and they're building out a basement. And what do they have a lot of extra of? Dirt. Who's doing that property? But the dad of a kid I coached in Cub Scouts. He is doing the construction on this house. He has a ton of extra dirt. We are 3 houses away. We got all of that dirt for free. It was win-win because we got free dirt. He didn't have to truck it out. And so not only did that save us a ton of money, like when I'm talking about divine timing, everything lined up perfectly. Okay. The new roof, we found out because we had just moved in. We didn't know anybody, but over the course of the 3 years, we found out that 2 doors down the other way, that guy owns a metal roofing company. He gave us our new roof at cost, plus $500 for installation, right? How much money did I save there, right? Because we talked to the neighbor and we got to know people, right? And we got a metal roof. It's going to last 50 years. I'm so excited about that. Okay. The guy that's doing the septic, he agreed to do the driveway and include it in the price. Done. Got the dirt from the neighbor, which was freaking amazing. Well company, pain in my butt, but it was good. We got a good well company. That was done. And not only that, the guy who gave us the dirt now says, hey, do you need the driveway paved? I'll pave it for you. And he's giving us a massive deal on that, right? And so this is what I'm talking about, divine timing. If we did everything at once when we purchased the house, not only did we not have money, but it probably would have cost 3 times the price of what we paid. And because we waited until after this property line dispute was resolved in the court, which, by the way, best thing ever to go to a property line thing, especially if you have lake property, because no one can ever contest that land anymore. It is written in the court records. No one can ever contest that. I never have to go to court for that property again. So that is a huge freaking win. Huge win. I can't even, those of you that have property near water, everyone fights for every single inch, and now we have it in the court records. No one can ever contest it. Oh, it's like the biggest win of all. That is the biggest win of all. But all of this stuff not only was cheaper, but everything fell into place in terms of timing, because once we won, the roof was ready to be done. The septic guy placed it in. Like we won this court battle in the fall, and by the spring, everything's done. Like, and it's the off season. And then like the septic guy was there at the same time as the well guy, who was there at the same time as, like, everything lined up perfectly. And so this is what I'm talking about with divine timing. And I talked to my husband about this all. He can't believe once it was the right time to do this, how smoothly everything went. Everything just happened. Like all of this stuff happened in a matter of weeks. I mean, weeks of each other. It was smooth, it was easy, it was cost efficient, right? Like, so it was all these things. And if we pushed early on to get all this stuff done, it would have been expensive. It would have been stop and start. Like it would not have flowed as easily as it was. So I hope this very long and annoying story, I'm sorry, was a really good example for you about divine timing and how you just need to let it go. If there is resistance going on, there is a reason for that resistance, and it's time to like almost like let go and let spirit is the how I like to say it. Let them figure it out for you. And so whenever I'm struggling with something, especially like for example technology or other things, I will literally step back and be like, okay, what am I supposed to do then? And I trust that whatever spirit has for me and whatever is coming my way is exactly what is supposed to come my way at the exact right timing. And just to reflect on my client, no, oh goodness, just to reflect on like the power of that, the power of spirit. It's just, if they can show up and give you amazing signs and amazing messages and give you these things, like why can't you trust them that they're doing exactly what you need in the exact right time frame? And just because it's not your time frame doesn't mean that it's wrong. So think about that. Hang on. I need to really bring this down and like land this for all of you. And so when I am chatting with spirit about my personal journey, and this is a tip for all of you, I go where it flows. And I tell you all this all the time in your one-on-one sessions and your mentee sessions. You need to follow the joy, follow the excitement, and just let it flow. And if there's not joy, if there's not excitement, if there's not resistance, it doesn't mean it's wrong, but it's not where you're supposed to be right now. And so whenever I face that resistance or whenever I'm frustrated, I literally leave it up to spirit and I say, show me the way. If I'm supposed to do this, bring me a sign. If I'm supposed to do this, how does it feel? Like, let me see how it feels in my body. Let my intuition guide me. Because there's nothing worse than punishing yourself for timelines that are in your head that aren't realistic, right? And punishing yourself for what you think you should be doing. And whenever you hear should, that's your ego. And beating yourself up for what you think you should be doing, when in actuality, what you should be doing is resting and letting the universe do the work for you. And I like, as somebody who comes from project management, who 5 years ago, I would have looked at this podcast and called my bullshit, said bullshit, like, no way, it's not true. If you want it, you have to work for it. I think there's an aspect of that, but you have to allow the right timing. You have to allow things to happen at the right time, because by the time you become a spiritual guru, as I'm sure most of you already are and or are on your path to doing it, you have to understand that you might not have all the tools yet. You might not have learned all the lessons yet. And the things that you're going through the things that you're going to learn are the exact things that you're going to help your clients with, help your use tools to help clients with, right? And so being open to not only the destination, but also the journey to get you there is what's going to make you a freaking powerhouse that is unstoppable in what you do. So that's it. I'm asking you to trust your divine timing, trust that the universe has your back, and trust that when it's supposed to show up, it will show up for you perfectly on time and perfectly in the way that you're supposed to receive it. And since it's 11:11 a.m., I find it very ironic. I'm going to drop this podcast. I'm going to end it. So thank you so much. If you have questions, concerns, frustrations about divine timing, you're not alone. Send it my way, podcast@mediumnicole.com. And I wish you the most wonderful day from my soul to yours. Take care.